我不娶。
I just told the most humiliating lie a man could ever utter, all because I'm that desperate to get away from my own wife. But my hatred for this marriage didn't come out of nowhere. In Yonghui City, women are supreme, and men are just pretty prizes. 3 years ago, I was forced to marry the young city lord, but she ditched me on our wedding night to go to war without even lifting my veil. I've been the city's laughingstock for 3 long years. Now that she's back, I have one mission. Get that divorce paper and escape this gilded cage forever.
驸马怎么把自己画成这个鬼样子啊？
She was finally coming back, so I decided to give her a welcome she'd never forget. I painted my face like a ghost and acted like I was 1 foot in the grave. If she found me repulsive and useless, she'd surely kick me out, right? I needed her to think I was a sickly man who couldn't even bear a daughter. My plan was simple. Look so pathetic that she'd beg for a divorce herself. While waiting for my dear wife at the gate, I saw a woman trying to sell her husband just because he had 3 sons. In this city, men are treated like livestock, but I wasn't about to stay quiet while a bully had her way.
规矩不是你作践男人的借口，他是你夫郎，不是牲口。
I paid her off to save the poor guy. I might be stuck in my own marriage trap, but I still have my pride and my principles. To kill time, I stopped by a stall selling portraits of the vicious demon young city lord. I was busy trashing her ugly face when I felt a sudden icy chill down my spine. Someone was standing right behind me.
长这么丑，可不得绕着走。
I had just returned from the gates when I heard a familiar voice trashing my reputation. My frail husband was a lot bolder than the report suggested. He didn't even realize his wife was listening to every word.
One look at her real face and my brain short-circuited. She wasn't a demon, she was a radiant beauty. But I couldn't let her looks distract me. I immediately pulled my deathbed act to get the sympathy vote.
恭迎少城主得胜回城，只可惜我身患恶疾，恐怕时日无多。想到以后都不能再伺候少城主。
He thought he could fool me with that terrible makeup and fake coughing. If he wanted to play the weak husband, I was more than happy to play along and carry him home.
My illness act failed, so I moved to plan B. Being a total disaster, I accidentally smashed her favorite vase, waiting for her to blow up and throw me out of the manor in a rage.
驸马怎么连这么点小事都做不好？
He was trying so hard to annoy me, it was almost cute. I decided to turn his little act of sabotage into a blessing, just to see the look of frustration on his face.
This woman is impossible to read. Instead of getting mad, she got flirty. She started talking about a physical exam, and I realized I was in serious danger of losing my secret and my dignity.
看来今晚我得好好给驸马检查一下身体。
I had to get her out of my room before she discovered the truth. This pervert city lord was way too hands-on for my comfort. She forced me to scrub her back, and I was ready to scrub the skin right off her. But then, I saw them countless scars covering her back. Every one of them was a mark of her sacrifice for this city.
你也是为了保家护城。他这3年过得也挺辛苦的吧？其实细算起来也不都是他的错。算了，这次先不跟你计较。
My anger vanished instantly. She wasn't just a powerful ruler. She was a soldier who had bled for our home. Maybe I had judged her way too harshly.
I could feel his gaze softening, so I decided to push my luck and tease him a little more. I offered him a plum and suggested we cool down together in my chamber tonight.
先来我寝殿，我帮驸马泄泄火。
My heart was racing, and definitely not in a good way. I needed a new plan, and I needed it fast, or I'd be losing more than just my divorce case.
I tried to win him over with gifts from the battlefield, but my husband clearly doesn't appreciate the beauty of a legendary blade. He looked at it like it was a poisonous snake.
这个是北境叛臣首领的爱刀。
Who gives their husband a murder weapon as a romantic gift? Our values weren't just clashing, they were in completely different universes. The wedding night ritual was closing in, and I was cornered. In a moment of pure, unadulterated desperation, I blurted out the most embarrassing lie a man could possibly tell.
我不娶。
As he slept, I looked at the man I had waited 3 long years for. He didn't remember me, but I remembered the little boy who told me it was okay for a girl to cry.
女子男子都是人，人应该开心就笑，伤心就哭。
I failed to protect him when we were kids, but I won't fail him now. He's finally by my side, and I'm going to make sure he stays there.
I thought I was safe until we shared a bed. She felt something hard near my waist and reached for it. It was my jade pendant, the one thing that could expose my true identity.
你为什么睡觉的时候也不解玉佩？都硌到我了。
I barely managed to stop her hand. One more inch and my entire life would have been ruined. I need to be more careful around this woman. The next day, the vultures at court attacked. They found out I still had my virginity mark after 3 years of marriage and accused me of shaming the city. Chancellor Yuan was leading the charge.
这陆云仙嫁进少城主府3年了，手工纱竟然纹丝不动，这是把您和少城主的颜面放脚底下踩呀！
This was my golden opportunity. If the whole city thought I was a failure, the city lord would have no choice but to grant my divorce. I just had to lean into the lie. I threw my last card on the table, begging for divorce in front of the entire court. I claimed my health was too poor to serve the young city lord. It was a perfect exit strategy.
臣对少城主没有不敬，只是臣自幼体弱多病，恐怕是没办法伺候好少城主了。
I thought I had finally won my freedom, but the city lord's roar told me otherwise. Would Xiao Mingzhao stand by me, or was I about to face the dungeon instead of a divorce? The look on her face was anything but predictable.
你好大的胆子！入府3年，居然还有手工杀，还敢说你没有对少城主不敬？既然如此，绝不能委屈了昭儿。我听说袁丞相之子。
The city lord was ready to throw me into the dungeon, or worse, replace me with the chancellor's son right then and there. I thought my divorce was a done deal, but her roar nearly blew my soul out of my body.
I couldn't let my mother bully him. I needed a lie big enough to stop her, so I made up a story about a curse from Tianji Pavilion. 49 days of abstinence was the only way to keep him safe from her wrath.
I thought I bought myself some time, but the city lord wasn't finished. She looked at me like I was a piece of broken furniture, completely unworthy of her daughter. And then, her consort stepped in with a plan that made my skin crawl.
带着几位贵夫去教教驸马，也好让少城主早享人间喜乐。
They wanted to train me? I'm a husband, not a show pony. But in this city, a man's refusal is just an invitation for more trouble. The next morning, 3 specialists barged into my room. The top musician, the strongest fighter, and the most beautiful man in the city. They were here to teach me the art of pleasing a woman. This was going to be a nightmare.
我乃铁拳第一猛啊！武贵夫。
They called me a clumsy fool. Fine. If they wanted to see a hopeless case, I was more than happy to give them a performance they'd never forget.
I knew my mother was trying to interfere, but sending those 3 peacocks to Shuanlang's room was crossing a line. He's fragile, and I won't have him bullied under my own roof.
乐主，你派人盯着点驸马那边，千万别让他吃亏了。
Lei Zhu thought I was spoiling him, but she doesn't understand. Shuanlang isn't like other men. He has a fire in him that I need to protect.
The training was absurd. Noble Consort Wen tried to teach me how to seduce with a zither. I watched him flirt with the city lord, and felt a wave of pure terror. If I learned this, Xiao Mingzhao would never let me out of her sight.
琴音最能传情，记住，男人不能光伺候好女人的身，更要滋润她的心。
I decided to sabotage the lesson. I played the zither like I was strangling a cat, making sure every note was a disaster. I waited for her to cover her ears and kick me out in a rage.
我仿佛看到了千军万马。
Is she deaf? She actually liked it. My plan to be the worst student was failing because her taste in music is apparently non-existent. My clumsy dance backfired, only making her more excited.
驸马角色，这几日跟着贵夫们辛苦上课，今晚我绝不辜负你的一片心意。
I messed up on purpose, so why is she getting even more excited? I had to get out of that room before things went past the point of no return. The 3 lords cornered me with a suspicious tonic.
驸马的身子是弱了些，幸好我们提前准备了这个补药，你喝了保证神清气爽，精力充沛。
They forced it down my throat. Within minutes, my blood was boiling. Those meddling consorts had spiked my drink, and I was losing control of my own body.
I found Shuanlang burning up and acting strangely.
驸马，你怎么回来了？不是说力不从心吗？
The air between us was thick enough to choke on. He was vulnerable, and I wanted to be the one to help him, even if it meant breaking my own rules.
I woke up in a panic, checking my arm immediately. Thank the gods, my mark of chastity was still there. It was just a fever dream, but it was a wake-up call. I need that divorce now, or I'm going to lose more than just my freedom.
昨晚那么热情主动的驸马，我还是第一次见。
She was teasing me about last night, and I couldn't even look her in the eye. I had to get out of this house and clear my head before I did something I'd regret. I told Mo Sheng to pack everything. This manor is a gilded cage, and Xiao Mingzhao is just a player who breaks hearts for fun. I needed to check my shops and see how much capital I had left for my escape.
错，叫浪姐。哦，对了，你赶紧去把东西收拾一下，我一会儿还要去铺子盘算下现在还有多少银。
At the shop, I found my friend Jin Shu in a state of total despair. General Chu, one of Xiao Mingzhao's top aides, was trying to force him into a marriage he didn't want. In this city, power is the only law.
有了，现在云雀城都敬奉天机阁，那我们就借天机阁的名头用一用。
General Chu is a monster who breaks her husbands like toys. I couldn't let Jin Shu become her 18th victim. If the law wouldn't help, I'd have to use a different kind of weapon. I had a plan. Everyone in Yonghui City is superstitious, and they all fear the prophecies of Tianji Pavilion. If I couldn't fight a general with a sword, I'd fight her with a rumor.
现在云雀城都敬奉天机阁，那我们就借天机阁的名头用用。
I stepped out as a representative of Tianji Pavilion, turning the public against the demon general. But General Chu wasn't about to let a mere man ruin her reputation. She drew her sword, and suddenly, my clever plan felt very, very dangerous.
诋毁本将军，你是想找死？
The blade was at my throat, cold and sharp. I thought my clever little act was over, but then, a familiar shadow fell over us, and the air turned cold with authority. My plan to incite the mob had worked, but it almost cost me my head.
少城主，
I stepped between them, my hand catching her blade before it could draw blood. This man, this mysterious Taoist, had a fire in his eyes that I hadn't seen in years. I couldn't let her extinguish it.
楚将军当街杀人，好威风。
I played the part of the humble priest, but inside, my heart was racing. Xiao Mingzhao was actually defending me, or at least, defending the law I was using as a shield.
Chu Xiaoxiao tried to hide behind her medals, but a petition written in blood by her victims doesn't lie. It was time to show the city that no one is above justice, not even a hero of the battlefield.
来人，把他带下去。
I watched her get dragged off, screaming for the city lord. But the victory felt hollow when I saw the way Xiao Mingzhao was looking at me. She wasn't done with this Taoist yet.
I invited the priest back to my manor, curious to see how long he could keep up the charade. He claimed to be from Tianji Pavilion, so I decided to test his divine knowledge with a question that had been haunting me.
不知道长能否算出我与驸马何时才能共度良宵？
I tried to warn her that force things never work, but she just laughed and threatened to break me. I was so shaken that my disguise literally started falling apart.
你怎么吓得连胡子都？
The moment that fake beard slipped, the truth hit me. It was him. My husband, the man who had been avoiding me for 3 years, was standing right here playing dress-up to save his friend, and he was bleeding.
The secret was out. I expected her to be furious, to throw me in the dungeon for deceiving her. But instead, she looked guilty. She started talking about the rumors, the ones that painted her as a bloodthirsty tyrant.
The world thinks I'm a monster, but the truth is much lonelier.
我还没有见过男色。
She was opening up, showing me a vulnerability that wasn't in any of the reports. My firm belief in getting a divorce was starting to feel like a house built on sand. I told her I wanted a divorce, that I couldn't live with someone so fierce. I expected a roar of anger, but she just looked at me with a gentleness that was far more terrifying than her sword.
看来以后我得温柔点才行。
I spent 3 years convinced that this marriage was a curse. I told myself she was a villain, a player, a heartless city lord. But sitting here now, I realized the only person I was lying to was myself.
我对他是不是已经动心了？
Mo Sheng was panicking, convinced she was going to punish us for the Daoist stunt. But I couldn't help but defend her. She's not the monster they say she is. She's the one who protected me when no one else would.
话本里都说了，救命之恩要以身相报。驸马，你们昨晚是不是已经……哎，那驸马，你是不是不合理了？
He came to me, not with a request for divorce, but with a gift he made with his own hands. It was the first time he'd ever truly looked at me without fear or resentment.
你走出了第一步，接下来的99步都由我来走。
She promised to walk the rest of the way for us. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I wasn't just surviving in this city, I was finally coming home. Just when I thought we were finally finding our rhythm, the past came crashing through the gates. Mo Sheng looked like he'd seen a ghost, and when he spoke, my blood turned to ice.
是驸马您的嫡父和嫡兄来了。
My family's arrival can only mean trouble.
知道少城主回来，
My family came only to see if I was still a useful tool. My father actually tried to use his seniority to force me onto my knees. He wanted me to apologize to the brother who had spent years stepping on me. But he forgot one very important thing. My status has changed.
要跪也是你们跪，我是驸马。
I stood my ground, watching his face turn pale with rage. He raised his hand to strike me, his own son, just to protect his precious legitimate heir's ego.
I walked into the room just as that man was about to lay a hand on my husband. The nerve of these people, treating the young lord's manor like some backwater village where they could bully whoever they wanted.
别怕，有我在呢。
My father-in-law was desperate. When his threats failed, he tried to drive a wedge between us by bringing up the one secret he thought would shame me, the fact that our marriage hadn't been consummated.
是我听说，云轩嫁入府里3年，这手工纱居然还在。
He actually had the gall to suggest his other son as a replacement to teach me a lesson. It was pathetic. They were so blinded by greed they couldn't see I was already losing my heart to the man they were trying to discard.
Lu Yuncheng didn't waste a second. He brought out his special plum blossom wine, acting all innocent and refined while trying to seduce my wife right in front of me. He thought he was so clever.
新郎喜欢，你一定得先尝尝。
Ming Zhao saw right through him and handed the cup to me. I took the chance to accidentally drop the flask, ending his little performance before it could even start. If he wants to play games, I'll make sure he loses every time.
My father-in-law tried one last time to show off, presenting a luminous pearl as if it were the crown jewel of the world. I couldn't help but laugh. If he wanted to talk about treasures, I'd show him what real wealth looked like.
你们这可勉强给新郎当个弹珠玩儿吧。
Just when I thought we were done with the drama, the wet nurse arrived. Yinqi was like a second mother to Mingzhao, and she didn't hold back. She blamed me for everything, from Mingzhao's weight loss to our lack of an heir.
嫁进府里3年了，还留着手工纱，让少城主为全城百姓笑话。
Lu Yingcheng was working overtime to charm the wet nurse. He gave her a hand-embroidered satchel, and she was absolutely smitten. I decided to play along, praising his skill just to see where this little alliance would lead.
少城主不愧是我奶大的孩子，知道我寡居11年了，还特意找了这么个细皮嫩肉的小哥来孝顺我。
The wet nurse wasn't giving up on the heir issue. She brought a secret soup from the royal healer, claiming it would make me strong enough to handle anything. Mingzhao was enjoying my discomfort way too much.
小哥有心了，来来来，这次我来呀，特意给你和驸马熬了些汤水，尤其是驸马这盘，可是我从城主府圣手那儿求来的补身秘方，保证他一碗下去龙精虎猛，一夜7次。
I choked down the soup under their watchful eyes. I could feel the heat rising in my chest immediately. Whatever was in that bowl, it wasn't just simple medicine.
As if the soup wasn't enough, the wet nurse pulled out a manual for ensuring a daughter. I could see my husband turning bright red. I couldn't resist teasing him a little more about our homework for the night.
驸马，好好学，今晚我来验收。
The atmosphere in the room was getting heavy. Between the soup and the proximity, I could barely think straight. Mingzhao leaned in, her voice a low whisper as she suggested we actually look at that book together.
新郎，乳母给你的画册难写，我们是不是？
Our romantic moment was shattered by the wet nurse screaming about a mouse in her room. It was such a transparent ploy, but Mingzhao had to respect her wishes. She ended up giving the wet nurse our main chambers.
要不让乳母来我寝殿睡吧，我带驸马去偏院。
We were moved to the side courtyard, far away from the main house. I knew she was plotting something with my family, but I couldn't figure out the endgame. Little did I know, the trap was already set. While I was out of the manor, my brother decided to make his move. He thought he was sneaking into Mingzhao's bed to force a marriage, using wine as a cover. But he didn't know about the room swap.
这是借着送酒，要来跟我私会呀！
He crawled into the bed expecting the young city lord, but he found the wet nurse instead. She was more than happy to accept his gifts. My brother's plan to steal my life just took a turn he never saw coming. But will he be able to survive the morning when the truth comes out?
父亲的话果然没错，少城主对我还是有心的。这一壶加了料的梅花酒下去，我定能入了这少城主府。
My brother tried to sneak into Mingzhao's bed by spiking the wine.
这不止，跟3年前大婚时间一模一样。
Mingzhao led me to a room prepared for our wedding night.
He asked why I chose him among all the noble sons.
其实我的心里一直有个人，他在我最难过无助的时候出现在我眼前。
I chose him not because I had to, but because I wanted him to rightfully be mine. Every battle I fought to get back to the boy who gave me hope.
Hearing her words, the wall I built around my heart finally crumbled. I used to think I was the unluckiest man alive, married off to a monster. But standing here, I realized I hadn't married a monster. I had found a treasure.
无数关于你的谣言，都让我觉得自己嫁了个只懂打打杀杀的恶人。所以这3年来，我一心只想着合力。但是和你相处的过程中，我发现你和谣言并不同。没想到，是我捡到了宝，嫁给了个顶天立地的大英雄。
The morning light brought the inevitable storm. My father-in-law came banging on the doors, desperate to find his precious legitimate son. He thought he was going to catch me in a scandal, but he walked right into a nightmare of his own making.
你们，这是少城主的寝殿，你怎么会在这里啊？
I stood there, watching his face drain of color as the wet nurse appeared. The trap had snapped shut, and I wasn't about to let them go easily.
My father started wailing about his ruined son, acting as if the world had ended because his scheme failed. It was pathetic. Yinqi, never one to miss an opportunity, decided she quite liked her new gift and offered to take him off their hands.
你什么意思啊？我有说过我不娶她吗？哼，还是你觉得她嫁给我，吃亏了？
I betrothed Lu Yingcheng to my wet nurse as his punishment.
将陆云城许配给殷长氏做正夫，择日成婚吧。
It was a fitting end for a man who tried to steal my husband's place. Now, he'd spend his days serving the woman he tried to use as a pawn. With the family drama settled, I thought we'd have some peace. Then Lei Zhu came running to tell me my husband had practically leveled the kitchen. She expected me to be angry, to demand he be a proper husband who could cook and sew.
男子的价值从不在灶台和针线之间， 他若擅长这些，我自然欢喜；但他若不擅长也无妨。我娶她回来，只是因为她是陆云轩，她的好我懂就够了。
I might not be able to cook, but I can balance a ledger better than anyone in this city. Seeing Ming Zhao struggle with the military accounts, I couldn't help but step in. Her eyes widened as I started breaking down the weaponry costs and transport losses like they were simple math.
这是粮草收支，不能只计总数，每担粮食的运输耗损都要单独列出。
I caught myself and stopped. Men aren't supposed to know about war. But the look of pride in her eyes told me she didn't care about the rules. To show my gratitude, I gave her the belt I had been working on. I'm not the best at embroidery, but I put my heart into it. Of course, she had to go and ruin the moment by misidentifying the birds.
这只鸡绣得真好看。
She quickly backtracked, but the damage was done. Still, seeing her wear it with such pride made the weeks of pricked fingers worth it. Our peace was short-lived when my old friend Su Jinshu showed up in tears. He told me a horrific story about being forced to marry a 60-year-old squire just because a female general had taken an interest in him. In this city, a man's reputation is so fragile it can be shattered by a single look.
但是如果没有男子在背后的付出，女子又何谈保驾护航、建功立业？你一句蝼蚁，就要抹杀掉男子的所有付出，简直狂妄之极。
I felt for him, truly. I knew what it was like to be treated as an object. I decided to let him stay, never suspecting that his desperation might turn into something much more dangerous.
Listening to Jinshu's story made my blood boil.
但是如果没有男子在背后的付出，女子又何谈保驾护航、建功立业？你一句蝼蚁，就要抹杀掉男子的所有付出，简直狂妄之极。
I saw the way Jinshu looked at me then. It wasn't just gratitude. It was something else, a spark of ambition that I should have recognized sooner.
Su Jinshu settled in, but he started acting strange. He would linger whenever Ming Zhao was around, misinterpreting her basic politeness as some kind of grand romantic gesture. He really believed he was about to replace me.
你说，来即是客，那件事情不用放在心上。
He was living in a fantasy world. Ming Zhao only saw him as a guest, but he was already picking out his wedding robes. The tension snapped when he mocked Ming Zhao's belt.
云轩，我刚看到少城主的腰带上绣了2只鸡，少城主是喜欢鸡吗？这喜好属实有些特别啊。
The look on his face was priceless, but the malice in his eyes warned me that the real trouble was just beginning.
这被褥啊，要先晒棉絮，再晒背面，在阳光正烈时翻面，并且在你傍晚收的时候抖3抖，这样晒出来的棉被才会有阳光的味道。今天我听到府里好几处下人们都在夸苏公子，他们说苏公子上得厅堂，下得厨房，简直就是模范郎君。他们还说。
Mo Sheng warned me that the servants were already comparing me to Su Jinshu, claiming he was more suited to be the prince consort. I realized then that being a quiet, supportive husband wouldn't be enough to keep my place. If Su Jinshu wanted to get serious about stealing my life, then it was time for me to show him exactly why Ming Zhao chose me. I wasn't just a husband. I was the master of this house, and I was done playing nice. I decided to stop being passive and start being proactive. When Ming Zhao returned, I made sure to show her the kind of affection that no house husband's chores could ever match. I needed her to feel that I was the only one who truly belonged by her side, no matter what the servants were whispering in the hallways.
群狼环伺，不卖力点就要被偷家了。
Su Jinshu tried to humiliate Yongshan with embroidery patterns.
少城主千万别怪云轩，他未出嫁的时候就喜欢往外跑，对刺绣、烹饪向来不感兴趣，不像我，自幼喜欢研习这些。如果我嫁进府里，
I wasn't about to let him continue his little performance. I made it clear that I married Yongshan so he could live a life of comfort, not to spend his days laboring over things that servants are paid to do. Seeing the look on Su Jinshu's face when I shut him down was almost as satisfying as seeing Yongshan's quiet smile. Su Jinshu's mockery of Yongshan's work was the final straw.
这个苏锦书对我的心思不单纯，轩郎把他当挚友，我得赶快让他离开这里，绝不能让他伤害到轩郎。说起衣裳，前几日来府中的沈离，我看他身上的衣裳还是前几年的款式，才得知原来他还未婚配，家中没人料理这些琐事。
I expected him to be grateful or at least compliant, but his reaction was pure panic. He wasn't looking for a good marriage. He was looking for my time's marriage. The mask was starting to slip, and the desperation underneath was becoming impossible to ignore.
Su Jinshu flatly refused the marriage match, revealing his true ambition.
锦书，我知道你之前的未婚妻是官宦家的嫡女，但她自己没有半点官职。沈校尉是堂堂4品官衔，前途无量，并且你嫁过去之后，直接就是正府。
The room went cold. He wasn't even hiding his ambition anymore. He spoke about joining the family as if he were doing us a favor, completely ignoring the fact that he was trying to wedge himself into a marriage that had no room for him.
I had to end this madness immediately. Su Jingshu was standing there claiming I had cared for him in every way, misinterpreting my basic hospitality as romantic affection. I looked him straight in the eye and told him the truth that he had been refusing to see. My eyes only have room for Yongxuan. Everyone else in this room, including him, was invisible to me.
苏锦书，我从来就没有看上过你。你看到我笑，那是因为我在看轩朗。除了他，我眼里根本看不到其他人。
His desperation turned into a vicious attack on Yongxuan, questioning how my husband was better than him. I had seen enough of his poison. I wasn't going to let him stand in my home and insult the man I love. I gave him a final ultimatum: 3 days to pack his things and leave, or I would have him forcibly return to his family in disgrace.
苏锦书，我从来就没有看上过你。你看到我笑，那是因为我在看轩朗。除了他，我眼里根本看不到其他人。
I offered Su Jinshu a graceful exit, but he threw my pity back in my face.
苏锦书，我最后再跟你说一次，明昭是我认定的人，谁也别想在我们中间横插一脚。
I stood my ground and told him clearly, I would rather leave Mingzhao than share her with anyone else. My dignity wasn't for sale, and neither was my marriage. Su Jinshu looked at me with pure hatred, realizing that he couldn't break the bond we had built, no matter how much he tried to twist the truth.
I returned home intoxicated, calling for Yongxuan, unaware that Su Jingshu was waiting.
好，我这就去找驸马过来。哎，真是看着无情的人最多情。
Su Jinshu saw his chance while Mingzhao was defenseless.
少城主，你若是尝过我的滋味，就不会只痴迷于陆于轩一人了。
I woke to find Su Jingshu hovering over me.
谁让你进来的？滚出去！
He left with a threat, but the only thing I felt was relief that the snake was finally out of my house. He had tried every trick in the book, from acting virtuous to attempted seduction, and he had failed every single time.
The next morning, the manor was flooded with rumors that Su Jinshu had finally succeeded in being taken by the city lord. It was a desperate, final attempt at revenge, trying to ruin Mingzhao's reputation by spreading lies about a night of passion that never happened. Mo Sheng was panicked, but I knew my wife better than anyone.
有人昨晚看到苏公子衣衫不整的从寝殿跑出去，于是他们就说苏公子被少城主给收了房。
I dismissed the gossip with a cold smile, but I knew we couldn't just let him disappear. Su Jinshu had fled to his cloth shop, but a man with his level of malice wouldn't stop at just rumors. He had tried to steal my life, and now he was trying to burn it down. What kind of trap is he setting now that he's been backed into a corner?
比你更有资格。
Su Jinshu's obsession has reached a fever pitch. He's no longer just trying to play house, he's openly declaring his intent to steal my title. He thinks his domestic virtues make him more qualified to stand by Mingzhao's side than I am. He's delusional enough to think this is a competition of embroidery and cooking, failing to realize that Mingzhao's heart isn't a prize for the best servant.
不晕的话会被人起疑的，那我还是装一下吧。
I realized the knockout smoke was a trap, and faked passing out. Waking up in a damp warehouse with 2 thugs wasn't part of the plan, but I wasn't about to let them win. Since Jinshu was so eager to be the prince consort, I decided to let him have the honor for a moment. I pointed out his expensive silk robe, a material only the consort is allowed to wear.
他身上的月白袍子，那可是驸马才能用的料子，不像我，只能穿别人剩下的衣服。
Logic is a powerful weapon, especially when your opponent is too busy being terrified to think straight. Su Jinshu's own vanity was becoming his downfall. The thugs didn't care about the money. Their real target was my reputation. I could see the malice in their eyes. This wasn't just a kidnapping. It was a calculated attempt to ruin me and my marriage.
到底是谁指使他们的？居然不是求财，而是要毁我名节。
My heart stopped when I heard Yongxuan had vanished.
少城主，大事不好了，驸马不见了。
If anyone touches a single hair on his head, I will make sure they regret ever being born. My patience has reached its limit. The kidnappers were getting bold, their talk turning from money to something far more sinister. They were planning to assault Yongxuan to destroy his honor, a fate worse than death in the eyes of the city.
脑子秀出了，我们绑了驸马要毁他名节，少城主能放过我们？就算少城主放过我们，这么2个俊俏的小郎君，难道你就不想尝尝他们的滋味？
Every second I spent searching was a second he spent in danger. I had to move faster, guided only by the faint markers he had the presence of mind to leave behind.
Mingzhao found us just in time. I knew I had to play the victim to keep her focus on my safety and away from my little scheme. I threw myself into her arms, acting like a frightened bird, while Jinshu fumed in the background.
我不知道，我就看见他们2个打起来了，然后自己把自己打晕了。 太吓人了！咱们快回去吧。
Sometimes, weakness is the strongest move a man can make. Seeing Ming Zhao's protective fury directed at my enemies reminded me why I fought so hard to keep her.
Su Jingshu had the nerve to knock on our door at night.
既然他今天救了我，看来我还有机会留在这儿。银轩，你睡了吗？
He can wait until morning, or better yet, until eternity. My only concern tonight is the man already in my room. With the intruders gone, the tension finally began to melt.
现在没人打扰我们了，要不要去长榻上？我好好给你做个全身检查。
I found out my own brother, Lu Yuncheng, was the one who hired those thugs. The betrayal stung more than the kidnapping itself. He thought he could ruin my reputation because of his petty jealousy over a marriage he was never fit for.
是我又怎么样？我不这样做，难道看你在少城主府风光吗？要不是你算计我，我怎么会上错床？怎么会嫁给阴死那个半截身体都入土的老东西？
I gave him 2 slaps for his betrayal and malice.
这一巴掌，打你不顾兄弟情谊，竟敢勾引少城主，自己心怀不轨，怪不到我头上。这一巴掌，打你竟然敢买凶毁我清白。殷长氏虽年事已高，可殷家给你的正夫待遇何曾少过？居然敢买凶绑架，你把少城主放在眼里了吗？
His tears didn't move me. A man who would sell his own kin to kidnappers doesn't deserve my pity, only my contempt. I gave him a final ultimatum to stay in his place.
我告诉你，当初你能在殷府坐稳正夫之位，是我懒得跟你计较。要是你再敢动那些蠢念头，我能让殷长氏把你捧成正夫，自然也能让他一纸休书把你赶出去。到时候，你连个弃妇都不如。
I watched him tremble, realizing for the first time that the power dynamic in our family has shifted forever. He will stay in his place, or he will have no place at all.
The decree for Yongshuan to manage the banquet is a double-edged sword.
奉天承运，城主诏曰：孤诞辰将至，特命驸马全权统筹寿宴诸事，户部拨银50万两以供之用。钦此。
$500,000 is a fortune, and every cent will be scrutinized by our enemies. I'll have to be more than just a soldier to protect him from the vultures in the palace. Noble consort Wen is already sharpening his claws, seeing his income being cut off by this new arrangement. He and the prime minister are already plotting to sabotage the banquet, hoping to humiliate Yongshuan and reclaim their influence.
城主现在有了新欢，对我已经大不如前了，现在又把寿宴交出去，我这儿一下子就断了进项。
They think they're setting a trap for a helpless boy, but they've forgotten that I'm standing right beside him. What kind of storm are these 2 old vipers brewing for the birthday celebration?
血光琉璃盏，银胎珐琅花瓶，血焰，驼峰。
I'm busy tracing the scent of Wen's greed through these complex ledgers. 500,000 silver coins is a ransom, not a budget.
My husband is so focused on those dusty records that he's forgotten who's standing right in front of him. He's hunting for Wen's secrets, but I'm hunting for his attention. If he wants to talk about poetry and ledgers, I'll give him something to write about literally. There's a certain thrill in watching him try to maintain his professional composure while I'm tracing words on his skin.
驸马，你猜我刚才写了什么字？
The vipers finally bit. I woke up to chaos. Rare ingredients destroyed, utensils smashed. It's a classic move. If you can't steal the job, sabotage the work. Mo Sheng is ready to pack our bags and run, but he doesn't realize that a warehouse full of broken glass is just an opportunity for a new design. They wanted to leave me with nothing, but they've only given me a blank canvas.
别急，让我想想。
I don't need exotic ingredients to win. I'll fight with the truth of the common folk. Su Jinshu has entered the palace as the new noble consort Jin.
宣景贵夫。
The look on Ming Zhao's face says it all disgust, mixed with disbelief. Su Jinshu thinks he's won a seat at the table, but he's just walked into a war zone. If he thinks his new title protects him from me, he's about to learn that in this palace, titles are just targets.
The banquet hall was thick with tension, and my mother's new favorite was preening like a peacock. Su Jinshu really thought he could replace the dignity of our house with his cheap ambition. I wasn't about to let him enjoy his little victory for even a second. If he wanted to be part of the family, he needed to know exactly where he stood in my eyes, which was nowhere near my husband's shadow. I didn't hold back against this social climber calling himself father.
不上我的床，爬到母亲床上。
The moment of truth arrived. The noble consorts were all waiting for a display of luxury they could criticize, but I gave them something they couldn't even recognize. Simplicity. I presented dishes from the streets, the kind of food that actually feeds the people. Wen and Jinshu were practically salivating at the chance to call me cheap, failing to realize they were walking right into my trap.
我看这些都是些民间吃食，驸马也是一片孝心，只是见识终究浅薄了些，城主莫要怪他。
I served a narrative of the people's content hearts.
请城主，少城主曾多次与臣讲过，上次去北京征伐的时候，有很多当地百姓围炉煮肉，好不惬意。都说烟火最能体现民心，今日是城主的寿宴，所以臣特意寻来天南海北的食材。臣是想让城主尝一尝各地百姓的口味，全城百姓都受城主庇护，应当同乐。
Rewards for everyone except the vipers. Wen's face turned a delightful shade of sour as he realized his sabotage had backfired. He tried to pivot, bringing up the missing luxury items, but he was already losing the room. He thinks he's cornered me with questions about embezzlement, but he's just handed me the shovel to dig his own grave. Wen thought he was clever, using his dog to ruin the feast.
城主，臣早就料到了寿宴食材会被人做手脚，我已经提前让人放了凝香粉，这种粉末无色无味，肉眼根本无法察觉。但是，只要用温水浸过的布去擦拭之后，再用火烘烤，便会呈现出淡金色。城主，臣恳请您派人严查文贵夫的爱犬，如果身上有淡金色纹路，那便是他擅闯库房的证据。 如若没有，臣愿领失职。
The evidence was glowing, and Wen knew he was finally caught. Wen tried to play the victim by sacrificing his own dog.
文贵夫刚刚不还护着自己的爱犬，现在怎么提出要求处置他了？难道是害怕更多的事情被他牵扯出来吗？
The city lord was finally seeing the truth. The dog was just the tip of the iceberg. Wen's desperation was showing, and every word he spoke only dug his hole deeper. It was time to bring out the real evidence, the ledgers, that would finally end his reign of greed.
The final blow came from the very books Wen thought he had falsified.
账册上写着东珠百科，实际入库的却都是染了色的淡水珠。借着玉盏石对，实际出现的却是灌了浆的琉璃盏。文贵夫，这也是办事不力。
Seeing Wen dragged away in chains was the justice we fought for.
A cornered rat will bite anything, even the hand that feeds it. Wen realized Chancellor Yuan was going to let him rot, so he did the only thing he had left. He took the Chancellor down with him. The hall erupted as he confessed that the embezzlement wasn't just his idea, it was a directive from the very man who was supposed to be the city's pillar of strength.
事到如今，你居然让我一个人扛，若不是当时你甜言蜜语的哄骗我，我怎么会为了帮你挪用城主寿宴的银钱？
袁丞相怀中刻着文字的玉佩，就是你们二人的定情信物。
The initials on the pendant told a story of betrayal. I gave him a confession in ink through his own ledgers.
那这本账册呢？这是袁丞相近3年来的账册，其中每个月都有一笔无名的收入。
The vipers were finally cornered. Wen's breakdown was pathetic, a desperate attempt to blame his lonely nights for his crimes. But in this palace, tears don't balance the books. The chancellor and the consort were about to learn that the side gate to power leads straight to the dungeon.
Watching Chancellor Yuan admit his wooing was just a business transaction was the final insult.
罢了，事已至此，我认了。文贵夫，我对你好是真，可若不是你手中握着城主府采买的权利，我又何必花心思哄你？
The dust from the arrest hadn't even settled before a new storm blew in from the horizon. Moonlight City, a neighbor we've always watched with suspicion, decided to send their prince at the most chaotic moment possible. Prince Adrian didn't arrive with the humility of a guest. He came with the arrogance of a conqueror, and his eyes were fixed on the one thing he had no right to touch. Prince Adrian arrived with the arrogance of a conqueror.
我此次前来，只为求嫁少城主。
Ming Zhao's rejection was swift and sharp, but Adrian didn't flinch. He came prepared with more than just words. He brought a challenge that would test the very foundations of our marriage. If he couldn't buy her with diplomacy, he tried to take her by force of tradition. The prince tried to shame me by mocking our refinement.
我听闻云雀城男子皆如美玉，今日一见，果然精致。只是不知除了描眉绣花，还会些什么。
I didn't let his insult slide. I met his gaze with a fire he didn't expect from a canary. A man who has to belittle others to feel strong is no prince. He's just a bully with a title. And I was more than ready to show him that the men of this city have teeth.
Adrian was relentless, using ancient laws to force a challenge.
我听闻云雀城有个规矩，想要取代正夫的位置，可以发起挑战。驸马，可敢应战？
I wanted to end the prince right there, but Yunshan stepped forward before I could draw my blade. His eyes were sharp, full of a quiet fury that told me he wasn't just fighting for his title, he was fighting for our dignity. He accepted the challenge, and in that moment, I realized my delicate husband was the bravest man in the room. I could see the weight of the coming battle on Yunshan's shoulders. He wasn't just worried about the prince's strength, he was suspicious of the shadows moving behind Moonlight City's banners. He agreed to the match to draw the enemy into the light, sacrificing his peace to protect our city. I held him close, promising that no matter what happened in that arena, his place by my side was eternal.
轩郎，放心， 我对你说过的话字字真心，无论是谁都代替不了你，所以你不用理他。
He's my fierce cub, protecting our home. My husband was trying to be all business, discussing strategy and secrets, but the way he gets all worked up is just too tempting. I'm the young city lord. I don't wait for the perfect moment to show my affection. If the carriage is shaking, it's not an earthquake, it's just me reminding him exactly who he's fighting for. Let the servants gossip. I have a husband to reward for his bravery.
The competition began, and Adrian's insults only sharpened my resolve.
驸马现在要是求饶的话，本王子倒是可以让让你，毕竟对付金丝雀，不需要真功夫。
I expected a test of skill, maybe archery or strategy. Instead, I found myself being measured like a piece of silk at a market. Height, shoulder width, waist. It was a bizarre display of physical scrutiny. Adrian was convinced his warrior physique would shame me into retreating. But then, the eunuch reached for the final measurement, and the room went dead silent.
马真是深藏不露，但身形不过是皮毛。明日我们武士见真章。
6 inches. The number hung in the air like a thunderclap. Suddenly, the delicate canary wasn't looking so fragile. I watched the noble consort's jaws drop, and the city lord's eyes light up with a new kind of respect. Even Adrian looked like he'd swallowed a fly. It turns out, some gifts are better kept hidden until the perfect moment to strike.
The entire city is buzzing with the news of Yongxuan's gifts. I've never been one to shy away from a good rumor, especially when it makes every other woman in Yonghui City green with envy, but I couldn't let the official measurement be the final word. I decided to take matters into my own hands and conduct a much more private assessment of my husband's physical stats.
不如就由我亲自来为驸马量一量，如何？
He couldn't outrun me in our chambers. I caught him eventually.
少城主不要啊！别！
Yongxuan is my partner, and I cherish every moment with him.
The second round was a trap. I could smell the sulfur on the walnuts immediately.
被人动了手脚，这些核桃都被人涂了硫磺和铁砂混合的涂层，这种涂层遇热会变硬，寻常力道根本无法碾碎。
I caught them in the shadows, making deals like the rats they are. Su Jinshu is so desperate to see me fall that he's willing to sell our city secrets to a foreign prince. He wants the status, and Adrian wants the power. They think they've already won, but they've forgotten that I've built my life on outsmarting people who thought they were holding all the cards.
好，最好别耍什么花样，否则越都城的弯刀可不长眼。
Su Jinshu's greed is his greatest weakness. The walnuts were just the beginning. Su Jinshu has sold his soul to a foreign prince just to see me humiliated, and the final round is looming like a shadow over the city. But Ming Zhao and I aren't just defending a title, we're defending our home. We've analyzed their moves, and we're ready to turn their own sabotage against them.
不知道，现在看来，他和阿达王子已经达成了合作，最后一场比试不能掉以轻心。苏锦书果然跟阿德里安串通好了，跟人沾边的事儿他是样样不做。禀城主，臣习惯用自己的纸笔作画，还望城主允准。
The final round of this prince consort farce is here, and Su Jinshu is still trying to pull the strings. He suggested a painting contest, thinking he can use the brush to carve me out of Ming Zhao's life. He wants to see her most beautiful side, but he has no idea what that truly means.
禀城主，臣习惯用自己的纸笔作画，还望城主允准。
I saw that smug look on Su's face, and knew he'd already tampered with the supplies. He's predictable, really. To survive in this manner, I've learned to trust nothing but what I bring myself. I asked the city lord for permission to use my own tools, and her nod was the first step towards Su's downfall. The prince painted a commander, a statue of authority. But I know the woman behind the armor. I revealed a double-sided painting, one side the warrior, the city fears, the other, the woman who smiles at a simple flower. I didn't just paint her face, I painted her soul, and my heart found its way home right there in front of everyone.
人心所向，直至清之安处。
I dismantled the prince's agenda by exposing his true motives.
阿德王子，你此次来云雀城的最大目的，不是为了求嫁少城主。
I watched Su Jinshu squirm as the prince he tried to buy turned into his executioner. Adrian isn't a fool. He knows a sinking ship when he sees one. He handed over the secret letters Su had sent him, exposing the entire plot to sabotage Yongxuan. Su tried to play the victim, but the evidence was written in his own hand.
这封是锦贵夫给我的密信，他在信中说会把纹饰改为作画，还买通官员盛赞我的画作，让我赢得比赛。
Su still thought he could lie his way out, claiming the handwriting was a forgery. So, I brought out the iron frost, the rare powder used to rig the walnut challenge. I tracked the purchase back to his own guards. There's no escaping the truth when the receipts are laid out on the table.
城主，在武士比试的时候，我的核桃被人做了手脚，上面染上这个制铁霜，寻常人根本就无法捏碎。臣特意派人去查了一下，这东西十分难买，只有锦贵夫的侍卫买过它。 他现在就在门外，城主可以随时传召。
Cornered and desperate, Su Jingshu finally snapped. He stopped pretending to be the dutiful consort and started spitting venom at everyone, including my mother. He claimed he was treated like a pet, but his own greed was the cage he built for himself. In a final pathetic act of spite, he even threatened to marry my mother just to stay in power.
小明昭，我对你忠心一片，你为什么就是看不上我？你不要我，我就嫁给你娘，这一切都是你逼我的。
I stood before the court and declared Yongxuan the master of my heart.
少城主府的男主人只会是陆云轩，因为我萧明昭此生此世，眼里心里都只有他。
The peace we fought for was shattered by the news of an invasion. Moonlight City's rebels are at our gates. Duty calls me to the front lines, and though it breaks my heart to leave Yongxuan, I know he's the strength I'm fighting to protect. I promised him a victory, and I intend to keep it.
I watched her prepare for war, my heart heavy with a fear I couldn't show. She's a warrior, but she's also my world. I told her to go, to do what's right, promising that I'd be here waiting when the dust settles. Our farewell was a quiet vow, in the middle of a storm.
刀剑无眼，我不能在身边护你周全，万事小心。
Victory brought a new era of equality to Yonghui City.
We announced a world where no one is superior or inferior.
男女本是同根生，并无高低贵贱之分。今日城主推行平权，不是要颠覆旧制，而是为了能够让每一个人都有凭本事立足的公平。
Years later, our little rebels are the ones in charge.
Chasing our daughter is more exhausting than leading armies.
你那叫消遣，我才是遭罪呢。我陈氏刚核算完9楼的月账，然后4时就得去绸缎庄盯着新到的云锦，5时我还没休息半晌呢，尚书府的正夫就堵在门口哭，说尚书要纳一个唱小曲的小郎，家里的地契全被他拿走了。明日呢？明日陈氏先带孩子们去见夫子，然后再去尚书府安慰那个正夫。我找谁惹谁了我？
She tried to use the restroom excuse to dodge the kids' calligraphy lessons. It's the same trick every time. I blocked her path, making it clear that the city lord doesn't get a pass on parenting. I even threatened her with a divorce, just to see that look of panic on her face. She knows I'm joking, but she also knows I'm the boss of this house.
那我呢？我这去了2个时辰。现在倒好，孩子的事情你不管，府里的事情你不管，连尚书府的烂摊子你也不管，全都我一个人处理。站住！